X Pokemon, presumably a couple Seismitoad, maybe another Shaman as well.
And we actually see Keldeo EX, a card he's playing as well. Another old school card we haven't seen much of recently with that Rush-In ability for you newer players is the same thing as Invasion on Dawn Wings Necrozma. Once during your turn, you can move it from the bench to the active spot. And of course, that great combination with Floatstone lets you have a little bit of mobility in your deck.
Yeah, Keldeo is the OG switching big basic, so pretty cool to see that back here. You know, this deck is really a really cool throwback. Used to be the enemy, and you know, now we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, and I think Carson is debating getting that Keldeo here, but he's also trying to be mindful of that Dangerous Rogue, I think, at the same time. He might just get the 2 Pokemon. Ooh, actually just going to get a Shaman as well, maybe try to get a little bit more of a setup going. We also see that Jirachi EX with that Stellar Guidance ability. Same thing as Tapu Lele's Wonder Tag. Lets you search your deck for a supporter card when you play it from your hand onto your bench.
Yeah, and you know, the reason he's playing this Jirachi is because it is an EX, so it can be searched for with Hoopa, as we see there. You know, Jirachi kind of fell by the wayside with Lele, and the only situation, it seems like, where you'd run Jirachi is this one specifically if you have a Hoopa EX. So not really too surprising to see that given the deck list.
Jirachi itself also is kind of a liability on the bench, though. Only 90 HP, and it is an EX, which means it can get knocked out over the course of the game with Jet Punches. But we actually know Carson does run a copy of Parallel City, which I think is something he's going to try to use to maybe potentially get rid of these 2 prize Pokemon on his bench, like Shaman and like Jirachi EX.
Yeah, you know, he's going to need to get rid of that Jirachi, especially pretty quick, because that's just 3 jet shoots and it knocks it out, and that's a huge liability. So if he can find that parallel, that'll be good.
It looks like we might have a broken sleeve here. Hopefully we've got some replacements. That should be a pretty quick fix. Oh, Carson actually looks like he doesn't have broken or any replacement sleeves, and we see this sometimes as kind of being a quick fix for this situation. A judge is just going to swap out one of Carson's prize cards with the sleeve, so that way Carson can, maybe we can get someone to run over and get some new sleeves for Carson for after this. Oh, I think Carson just shuffled. Okay, there we go. That's the broken sleeve right there is that prize card. So I was worried at first that Carson was shuffling that prize card into his deck. I was like, that is not going to be good.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
But thankfully, the judge still had it in their hand. So off of these 6 for the Cynthia here. Might want to get down a DCE this turn, but I could also understand just wanting to hold it. He doesn't know much about Will's deck. You never know when an Enhanced Hammer could come out. Special Energy is so popular in the expanded formats. It seems like that's a card that people tend to favor as a tech option to get rid of Special Energies.
Yeah, so, Will here wants to get a setup going, wants that Buzzwole, obviously, so he can start doing damage with it. But, Buzzwole is not a Pokemon that has really had to deal with Hypnotoxic Laser before.
No.
2 totally different eras. So, if I'm Will, what's the ideal setup for me here?
I think he has a Buzzwole GX in his hand, so with this, he might get his Oranguru. He actually doesn't play Octillery. We just plays the Oranguru as a draw option. Actually going to get Zygarde EX here, and that could be a good attacker with Cell Storm. It does heal damage. Seismitoad will do 40 damage with Quaking Punch after the additional damage from fighting Fury Belt, so could actually get a little bit of healing going, and that might be a good option. And something else interesting over on Will's side, we actually see him discarding the Strong Energy, and this is actually pretty intelligent, I think, on his side. He's going to be Sycamoring this turn. That's the last card in his hand after this energy attachment, and he doesn't want to play into the Enhanced Hammer. I'm sure he's seen lots of Toad decks throughout the years and knows that typically they're going to run heavier Enhanced Hammer counts and doesn't really want to deal with getting his energy attachment for the turn just totally wiped away.
Yeah, I'm sure Will realizes, too, that with that Diancie, he can just 2-shot Seismitoads with Cell Storm if he gets as strong as the second attachment. And so I think he's comfortable pitching one of them. Needs to be a little cognizant of his energy in general, but this seems like a great opener for Will.
Looks like an Ultra Ball is going to come out. He's going to go ahead and play all these item cards now. Wants to try to limit Carson's options. Looks like he's eyeing up the Baby Buzzwole, which could come in and be a big attacker, actually, for just one single energy card. Could do a ton of damage to a Seismitoad EX.
Yeah, we see, Carson runs the Fighting Fury Belt to make sure that Seismitoad stays alive as long as possible, and then he can Acerola it. So being able to do huge chunk damage like that with Baby Buzz is very significant.
Will being very smart here, going to go ahead and play these item cards, plays the Ultra Ball, plays that VS Seeker, gets the Sycamore back in his hand because he knows this turn I'm probably going to get Quaking Punched, won't be able to play these.
Yeah. Another interesting thing right now actually is if Will can get something like a Pseudo-Wudo on board here, limit Carson's ability to use more than, one, maybe two Seismitoad, that could be good in slowing Carson down and allowing Buzzwole to kind of start running over this deck.
Yeah, Carson, if there was a Pseudo-Wudo on Will's side, Carson's bench would already be full, which would make things a little awkward, but looks like he might be getting a Toad here, so that kind of almost takes away that option. Looks like Will just wasn't able to get the Pseudo-Wudo last turn.
Yeah, so what Carson needs to do now, obviously, he needs to get that Shaman out of the active spot. He runs a couple of Floatstone here, so he hopefully can find one of those. And worst case scenario, he will be able to Sky Return and knock out, and not knock out the Rockruff, but possibly with a Laser and a Fury Belt, knock out that Rockruff and get the Shaman out.
Yeah, that would be a pretty big combo here. Even with a Laser and a Floatstone, he would be able to knock out with a Quaking Punch, which would be great as well. Don't see a Laser yet. No DCEs either. There's the DCE.
Looks like the DCE, but I don't see a Laser at all.
No Floatstone either, I don't think. May just have to go for the Sky Return here.
I do think I see a Parallel in his hand, though, so maybe he can pitch the other Shaman and Jirachi on the bench right now. I don't really know.
Yeah, and that would actually be pretty strong. He would get rid of that Shaman and Jirachi, and they'd also be Sky Returning the active Shaman, so that way he doesn't have these liabilities on the field anymore, these low HP basic Pokemon EX.
Looks like he's eyeing that Parallel, but he opts to just Sky Return, just pick up that Shaman, and he's putting up the other Shaman, which resists fighting as well, so he thinks maybe he can buy him another turn to get going.
Yeah, definitely makes sense to me. Will have another turn of items here, which is definitely a sigh of relief for him, I'm sure. Looks like he's got that Beast Energy Prism Star in his hand. Might be wary of attaching it, though. Knows that Carson does play all those enhanced hammers. He does have a Guzma. That's a potential option as well. We could see him maybe go Guzma and just do some damage to this Seismitoad EX. That might be a route he wants to take, because it will be kind of hard for him to get a one-hit KO without playing his item cards.
Yeah, good strategy here for Will as well. Maybe putting that 30 damage instead of Jirachi on the other Seismitoad, so that way he can, make sure that damage stays on the board in spite of, Acerola or anything like that.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely really intelligent play from Will to chase down the Toad as opposed to the Jirachi. Carson does have ways to remove that damage. We know the Parallel City. We know that he plays Acerola as well, so definitely intelligent on Will's side of the field.
So now Carson's got this Toad in the active spot. It has taken some damage, but if he can land a Laser hit here, the dreaded heads-tails flip with Hypnotoxic Laser, he could take control of this game pretty quick.
Yeah, absolutely. So many people. I had a friend earlier who was talking to me about, man, my opponent played the one Hypnotoxic Laser in Zoroark. He flipped heads, I flipped tails, and I lost the game because of it. And I was like, that has happened to so many people over the years of Hypnotoxic Laser being a card. Just such a powerful card for a trainer. You can play it from your hand, and you get to put your opponent potentially to sleep and just poison it automatically. It's extra damage in play and can also stall you for a couple of turns. Just such a powerful card.
Yeah, it's a card that used to kind of terrorize the game for a while, especially when Seismitoad released. But again, somehow a card like Hypnotoxic Laser, a trainer that does damage, is no longer good enough.
Yeah.
So very interesting to see, but Carson opts to just Colress here. He's going to get 8 cards. Really, he's probably just looking for a Laser, maybe an Enhanced Hammer to get rid of this Beast Energy as well.
Yeah, Enhanced Hammer would be great, moving that Beast Energy. Will is hitting a decent chunk of damage for just one energy here, so wants to get rid of that if he can, and of course potentially just put Will to sleep as well.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see what he gets off this Colress here.
Does get to draw 8 cards. Lots of cards here on the Colress. There's that Parallel City once again. I don't see the Laser quite yet.
I don't think I see a Hammer in there either. So, not exactly what he wanted to. Oh, just kidding.
Ooh,
there is a Hammer.
There's the Hammer.
So that's good. He wants to see that. But this Quaking Punch, if he doesn't have a Laser, Quaking Punch for 40, it locks items, but really not that strong in this situation.
And we also need to make sure, not that big of a deal, Will doesn't play like Special Charge or anything like that, but that Beast Energy should go to the Lost Zone, not to the discard pile, so maybe that's something we can get fixed. But Not something that I think will end up being a huge deal, honestly.
Yeah.
But hopefully we can get that fixed.
Yeah, all of the Prism Star cards, once you discard them or they are removed, they go to the lost zone.
Yeah.
They're all very powerful, so kind of make sure that you can't reuse them. We see here, Will uses Cynthia, just looking for a fresh 6.
There it is.
He caught the air. Good
Like I
thing.
said, very minor thing, but definitely something we want to make sure we get correct.
So Will's got fighting and a strong energy here now. So if he attaches this fighting energy, Carson does not have a way to remove that. So he's going to have to rely on just kind of using laser.
Yeah, well, he does have the one single copy of Team Flare Grounds, but it's kind of a hard, like, one card to find as well, so.
Yeah, using a supporter for turn, for example, to find it, not that good. So he might just opt to hope to use some sleep flips to get that taken care of.
Ooh, looks like the next card was the Hypnotoxic Laser. Would have loved that last turn, I'm sure, but can still definitely do a decent chunk here. Maybe an Acerola would be a good option for him this turn, honestly.
Yeah, keep the toad alive. But, Will is playing it smart. There's 60 damage on that other Seismitoad. So, if he Acerolas it, he's putting up another damaged Seismitoad.
Yep. Ooh, that is
Tails.
a heads.
Oh, it heads.
Yep.
Buzzwole has never seen that before.
Yeah, Buzzwole, a card that wasn't around when Hypnotoxic Laser was played super heavily. Now getting his first taste of that hated Team Plasma card.
Yeah.
So we'll see here. Carson checking the discard pile, maybe seeing what supporters he may have to use with like a VS Seeker. We also see Shadow Triad, kind of an interesting supporter option that we see Carson plays. Can let him get back those Hypnotoxic Lasers later in the game is definitely a solid way to potentially search them out. And we see just another Colress. We've just seen so many Choruses from Carson's side of the field.
Yeah, and it's kind of unfortunate. He's just trying to dig and get more Seismitoads, get the resources to keep reusing them. And every turn that he doesn't do that, Will has an opportunity to just drop a lot more chunk damage on his board.
Yeah, and I wonder if maybe looking back at it, was Carson benching that Seismitoad a little premature? Maybe should he have held off until Will had used a couple of Jet Punches? Then he could have had a big turn where he goes Toad on the bench, Parallel City away, the damaged Pokemon. But, I guess he also wants to keep the Toad in play so that, he just has access to it if something was to happen to his active Seismitoad.
Yeah, and he's going to be able to Quaking Punch here. That'll do 40 damage base, and then the Hypnotoxic Laser with the Verbank City will add an additional 30 damage. Will, fortunate enough to wake up, so Buzzwole is not going to bed just yet.
Looks like he will wake up from that sleep, as you mentioned. Still poisoned, though. Will still take 30 damage in between turns unless Will is able to replace that Stadium card. See, he does have a strong energy in his hand. That could boost his damage a little bit. 130 damage on to the 130 damage on the Seismitoad right now. Needs to hit 90 to get the knockout. I'm not quite sure he can do it though under item lock.
Yeah, he's opting to Karina here. He's looking at a Lichen Rock, but in a wide lens, but he can't play the wide lens. Not really sure why he's taking that one.
Yeah, I think he's probably just like pulling it up to the front saying like, I'm not going to be able to play any trainer I could get, so I might as well just thin something out of my deck so I don't top deck Wide Lens next turn, right? Because that's a useless card. Might as well put it in my hand so it's not in my deck. Makes it higher odds that I draw better cards later on.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Maybe, what do you think he might bring up here with the Lycanroc?
So I'm actually wondering if he uses the Lycanroc at all. Maybe he attaches to Rockruff and saves the Lycanroc so that he can GX a clean Seismitoad. Never mind, I guess, actually. He's just going to bring up that other Seismitoad. This is very smart. He's pretty much negating an Acerola play from Carson. Yeah. It doesn't matter which Toad he picks up, both will be damaged. Very intelligent play from Will.
Yeah, both of these Toads have so much damage on them at this point. Carson does play the full 4 Seismitoad EX, though. We see an Ultra Ball in his hand now, so he could go get another Seismitoad and maybe get off a play with an Acerola plus DCE. He does have a decent amount of cards in his hand. It's kind of funny. Like, we see so many cards in his hand. No Zoroark GX on Carson's side of the field, though. Doesn't play Zoroark GX, and, making sure we get that poison damage as well. Yep. Definitely important.
So Carson is... he's trying to figure out what to do. He knows that, Acerola is useful, but it's not going to clear off all this damage. He will be able to take a knockout on this Buzzwole if he can Quaking Punch this turn. So maybe he's just looking to sacrifice this damage Toad and just set up clean Toads for future battles.
Yeah, and he may actually use Acerola here on the benched Seismitoad just to get the DCE onto the active. He knows he's going to lose it. It is unfortunate, but he's still clearing off a lot of damage from the benched one. And he's not going to lose it immediately. Sure, the Toad has a lot of damage on it, but with that Fighting Fury Belt, it still has 110 HP. So I guess Will can knock it out with the Baby Buzzwole, but he does still need the energy to do that.
Yeah. So he rebenches the Seismitoad again. There's no Buzzwole on Will's side of the board, so, no immediate danger to it with some snipe damage. Will does have a strong energy, so he can take a knockout here with this Baby Buzz, and it looks like he is opting to do that.
Yeah, and this could put Carson in a tough spot. If he doesn't take another prize card somehow, this Buzzwole is going to just continue to do a ton of damage every single turn for just one energy card. Actually hitting 160 at the moment with the strong energy. We're going to see a Sycamore on Will's side, drawing him a fresh hand of 7. Sudowoodo as well is huge here. Yeah,
a lot of times people think of Baby Buzzwole as a one-time counter, retaliate, because normally a prize is taken immediately after it attacks, but Seismitoad's not going to do that, so this could be huge for Will.
We're going to see him use that Brooklet Hill. Maybe he wants to get another Rockruff in play so he can use his second Lycanroc GX potentially.
Looks like he's eyeing it, and he does take the Rockruff.
Go ahead and get that on the bench. I think Carson here might have to go for a laser and just really hope that this Seismitoad that this Buzzwole stays asleep. Maybe could go for like a Guzma, bring up the Lycanroc that has no energies on it, and kind of stick that for a turn, do a decent chunk of damage to it. And it makes it kind of interesting, right? Because Carson put that Fighting Fury Belt on that Seismitoad. It would have been knocked out regardless of Fighting Fury Belt or not. I wonder if he wishes he still had access to that on this active Seismitoad.
Yeah, definitely, because now this Baby Buzzwole is another strong... Ooh, never mind. Take that back. Carson's on top of it. But yeah, the Fighting Fury Belt's just going to do so much. It helps with future snipe damage. Carson, Seismitoad is not used to non-EX Pokemon doing this much damage for one energy.
Looks like he did have a replacement Fighting Fury Belt anyway. Has an N as well. Inning Will to 4 here could be pretty solid. An N combination with a Hypnotoxic Laser does flip heads once again. And if you flip heads on Hypnotoxic Laser, it's like one of the best cards in the format.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, Will probably pretty frustrated to see this card again. I'm sure of all the decks he thought he'd face, Seismitoad Lasers is not high on that list. Laser is, of course, one of the more frustrating cards to play against, admittedly.
Yeah.
If the flips don't go your way.
We saw Carson kind of debate whether or not he wanted to put that Seismitoad down. I think he wants to avoid the situation he was in last time where it was getting poked on the bench. Both of his Toads were getting damage placed on them. But if you look over to Will's side, he actually has no Buzzwole GX in play, and he has a full bench. So that's actually not something Carson's going to have to be worried about until this active Baby Buzzwole goes down.
Yeah. However, if Will can get this Buzzwole to stay awake, I think Jet Punch damage is going to be the least of Carson's problems, because this Buzzwole is going to do quite a bit of damage here.
Ooh, he does wake
up again.
2 for 2 on heads. Well done, Will.
Sleep is essential to good gains, and Buzzwole takes a quick nap and is back in the gym here.
140 damage going to come out from this single energy card. Carson's really going to want to find a Acerola here if he can, as well as another laser to potentially put it back to sleep. Miss the Burbank City Gym, which I think is huge.
I like this play. Will had a supporter. I think he had an N in his hand, maybe something else, but he doesn't need to do anything. He just needs energy right now. So as long as he can just keep getting energy and keep attacking, he's in a great position.
Yeah, Will playing very smart. I believe Will is a first-year master this season as well. So we've seen a lot of these first-year masters on stream today, actually, and they've all performed very well. It's really cool to see these players that have been playing the game for so long in these younger divisions just really making intelligent plays and showing success here in the Masters.
I know. I think Carson's in his second year. I believe I played him last year, but I know he did qualify for Worlds last year in his first year of Masters. So, he's probably pretty close this year as well. He's had a lot of success.
So both of these players having success, being so young, definitely very cool to see. Carson really debating what he wants to do here. He does have a VS Seeker, has a lot of options to him. He could Colress for a lot of cards and just kind of concede that this Toad might go down. He could use Acerola and just pick it up. Looks like he also has Lusamine in his hand, an interesting supporter card in this deck. Lets him get 2 in any combination of supporter and stadiums back from his discard pile. Could actually use this to get the Burbank City Gym to boost his damage.
Yeah, that's going to be useful. You know, an interesting loop Carson can do is Shadow Triad for laser, and then Lusamine for the Shadow Triad and Laser Bank again. So he opts to take, it looks like an N and a Verbank.
I believe that is what he grabbed.
So he's going to knock out this Brooklet Hill. That's very useful. That's where a lot of his damage actually comes from. It's that residual poison damage from lasers. So it's good to see that again.
This math actually works out perfectly. Carson will be knocking out this Buzzwole here. The math, it works out to exactly 130 damage, so can't really ask for much more if you're on Carson's side of the field.
So right now, this Zygarde, I believe the first attack is 20 plus 20.
If there's a stadium.
If there's a stadium. So it'll be doing 60 right now with this Diancie. Looking for maybe another energy so we can use Cell Storm and take the knockout on this Seismitoad. And he does get a fighting. 2 fightings on the Zygarde is actually huge because Carson cannot remove both of them.
Yeah, and that Cell Storm attack can heal off incoming Quaking Punch damage. Will has played this very intelligently, putting himself in a smart spot. Carson's seeming like he's on the back foot a little bit here, but Carson also a very smart player. We'll see what he does to get out of this situation.
And so now, you know, Will is in a situation, he has that Rockruff in play, and Carson still has that Jirachi. And so if Will can find another energy and a Rockruff, for example, he could win the game with this Zygarde.
We actually see a Tails from Carson, first one of those, so he doesn't put the Zygarde to sleep. And this is actually interesting. This is where the Rock Guard could come into play potentially, forcing that Zygarde to take damage. Carson does have a Fighting Fury Belt in his hand. I'm not sure if he'll attach it, though. He might want to dig for that Rock Guard this turn.
Yeah, the Fighting Fury Belt, you know, Carson's going to have to two-shot him regardless. So he does have to play the Fighting Fury Belt. I wonder if maybe, like you were saying, Rock Guard would be more useful here. Cellstorm can't heal off that damage from Rock Guard.
You know, I think that he's just kind of saying, look, I'm going to end this turn. I'm only going to draw 3 cards. I'm going to put my opponent down to 2. The chances of me drawing my Rock Guard off of these 3 cards are pretty low. I want to just make sure I have this tool in play, try to keep my Seismitoad alive. I can use Acerolas to loop it back, and I'll still get to do some residual damage thanks to Hypnotoxic Laser, even if this Zygarde is healing every turn.
Sure. Will, can't see what he drew there. Looks like maybe it was 2 items. But Carson's going to retreat and just Quaking Punch here for 70 damage total with that Hypnotoxic Laser.
Yep, definitely Poison going to rack up at some point in this game.
I think that's 2 elixirs in Will's hand that he got off the end and an energy.
Ooh. Could use Zygarde's second attack. It does 100 damage, would do 120 after the Diancie boost, which would 2-hit KO this Seismitoad. I wonder if that's what he might go for as opposed to the Cellstorm to heal the damage. Maybe just trying to take this 2-hit knockout, and if Carson didn't draw VS Seeker off of his 3 cards, that would put him in a good spot.
Yeah. Alternatively, you know, maybe he thinks about putting it on the Buzzwole, concedes that eventually this Zygarde will go down, so he can put some damage on there, maybe clean it up at the end with this Buzzwole.
Yeah, we'll see which option Will goes for. Carson has played multiple VS Seeker up to this point, but it looks like he's going to just go ahead and opt to heal the 30. Does just take the 30 right back, though, thanks to the Poison Hypnotoxic Laser. Over to Carson's turn. There's a Team Flare Grunt. That's pretty big.
That is not what Will wanted to see. Maybe one of the only cards that Carson has in his deck that Will needed to avoid. And he just Quaking Punches again, but this is very upsetting math for Will now. He is a turn behind on energy. His 2-shot plan is kind of out the window here.
Yeah, and he has his 3rd elixir in his hand. 3 elixirs and an energy. That is definitely unfortunate. Will can use the Cell Storm, heals the 30, takes it back again. Make sure we place that damage. And all Carson needs to do here is just Quaking Punch and take the knockout. Go down to 1 prize card. Game is not over, but it is a good spot for Carson Goins.
And so if Will can get a strong energy, he will knock this out with the Buzzwole and Jet Punch. But he needs a strong.
I'm not sure that he has a strong energy left. He does only play 3. I think we've seen minimum 2 come through. I can't remember if a 3rd one's hit the discard pile at some point, though. I'm not sure that he has access to it.
Yeah, and his hand is doing him no favors here. He needs to top deck something very soon. Let's see what he draws. And he gets...
Oh, looks like nothing.
He just passes. We didn't even see what that was.
There's an Acerola for Carson. That is big as well. Can just pick up all this damage on the Seismitoad. Has Rock Guard as well. He can place that back down. Carson is, I think, at this point in the driver's seat for this game.
Yeah, just clears off tons of damage. Will, devastating to see that.
Definitely not what you want to see. We'll see which tool he decides to put down here. What do you think about the choice between Rock Guard and Fighting Fury Belt?
I like the Rock Guard here now because it puts the onus on Will. Not only does he need to find an energy to start dealing damage, but he needs to find a way to get around the Rock Guard, because otherwise Carson will be able to knock him out in almost 2 hits, especially with the Hypnotoxic Laser.
See if that's what he goes for. It looks like he's eyeing it up at the front of his hand.
And he does use it.
Definitely smart, in my opinion.
Yeah, I like this play.
Yeah, Will's just going to go ahead and
concedes.
concede. Wow, Rock Guard not going to be enough for him to deal with.
And it's really interesting watching this game. I kind of understand, the logic behind Carson's deck. With these big Buzzwole decks, he's not going to win these battles of pure power, but he's just going to win a grinding game of attrition. Really grind Will down until he's got nothing and kind of just steal a win.
Yeah, definitely. Hypnotoxic Laser, still a very good card, even after all these years, paying off for Carson here in that first game. And going into game number 2, do you think Will needs to change anything about his strategy? It seems like he played pretty smart throughout that whole game. Do you think there's anything he needs to do differently?
One thing I would maybe consider, Lycanroc GX, it will likely knock out, a Seismitoad in 1 hit with Dangerous Rogue, and that kind of does a lot to upset tempo. So if he can kind of maybe get a Dangerous Rogue in there at some point, I think that would go a long way in helping with this attrition game that Carson's trying to push.
Yeah, maybe if he could pull off some play where he goes Dangerous Rogue with 2 energies, next turn attaches energy, has DNC in play, and is able to get a Guzma on like a Shaman or a Jirachi to take a cheap 2 prizes. If he can get 4 prizes out of a Lycanroc GX, he only has to find 2 more prizes to win the game.
Yeah, ideal world, he Dangerous Rogues with 2 basic fighting, and then Carson needs to find a Flare Gun immediately. But, I think a Dangerous Rogue here would go a long way in helping Will with his 1 energy GX and EX attackers.
So we'll have to see if Will opts to change his strategy at all in the first game. Like I said, I think he played very smart in that first game, and definitely cool to see from these younger players. And we'll see how, if he does anything differently in this second game, and if he's able to come out on top. Something else lucky for Will, he is getting to go first this game.
Yeah. So he'll get for sure a turn of trainers as well. Unlike Trevenant, Seismitoad, guarantees a turn of trainers because either they go first and can attack or you go first. So that'll be nice. Maybe he can hit some elixirs as well, get some more energy in play.
Yeah, and there's always the chance, of course, that Carson starts a non-Seismitoad Pokemon, has a harder time getting a Seismitoad into the active on his first turn since he is going second. Gonna want to try to find that turn 1 Quaking Punch if he can, so Will is going to choose to go first, of course. There is the choice to choose to go first or second, but there's really no reason not to go first in the Pokemon TCG currently.
Yeah, and I think I saw Cynthia in Will's hand, and Energy, and I believe he started Buzzwole. So already, solid opening hand from Will, and we'll see what Carson starts. Looks like he is starting a Seismitoad. It's a Zygarde.
And that's actually probably both of these players' best 2 starters, honestly. Zygarde early seems really good. I don't know. Maybe that Jet Punch damage did build up really well for Will early in the game, so maybe he wouldn't mind starting with that pressure from Jet Punch and then going into Zygarde later on in the game. Well, looks like he's going to have to start with Zygarde here in this one.
Yeah, he's playing Karina. Looks like he's eyeing that Diancie. He wants the ability to just do as much damage as possible, as soon as possible. So that Diancie's, I like that play. And then, what do you think he eyes here for the trainer?
It looks like he's eyeing up a Max Elixir, and if he has another basic Pokemon in his hand or a Brooklet Hill, he can use this to just get some more energies in play as quickly as possible. And he does have the Brooklet Hill, so
I like this play. He'll have a Buzzwole. If he hits this Elixir, I think he's in a great spot. That way he has kind of a tag team with Guzma. Both of these guys can attack for 1 energy, so Carson can't really disrupt that.
Yeah, absolutely. And if this is going to be a basic energy on this benched Buzzwole, so it's totally safe. Carson doesn't have like Plumeria or Crushing Hammer. No way to remove benched basic energies, so that's definitely good for Carson.
He hits that Elixir. Very good. He does run 10 basic fighting energy, so chances of him hitting it are a little higher. But this is, this is a pretty good start for Will. I would have liked to maybe see a Rockruff if he could have gotten that down, but this is still fine.
All right, so
looks like there's some sort of issue here. They're debating something.
Yeah, not sure. Looks like there's a conversation between the judges and the players. Not sure what's going on. Oh, looks like maybe the sleeve that was broken previously. Maybe they were having to take care of that. So.
Yeah.
Looks like it's taken care of, though, and we'll go back to Carson's turn.
Now, if I'm Carson here, obviously the thing I want to do is get a laser and a double, but he's able to use the Brooklet himself. He can fish out a Seismitoad. Looks like he's dealing with that broken sleeve again.
Yeah, it looks like we're just going to swap that card out real fast. I think he handed him the sleeve, but didn't hand him the card. So I think the card is just in his deck right now, in no sleeve. So want to get that card in a regular sleeve. Or no, maybe he did give it to him. Okay, sorry.
All right. So yeah, now he can choose to take a Sudowoodo, kind of limit Will's bench, but I like the ability of taking a Seismitoad here. That kind of reduces the need to use like a Hoopa to set up.
Yeah.
But he opts to take the Sudowoodo.
You know, Will did have a lot of Pokemon on his bench last game and tried to leave himself with lots of options for different points in the game. So maybe Carson's wanting to try to limit that, and he knows he has the Hoopa that he'll be able to use to get more Pokemon in play. And looks like he does have the Ultra Ball in his hand. Can find that Hoopa with this.
Yeah. So I like taking another Seismitoad, obviously, Shaman to draw, and then probably a Jirachi as well. Oh, he opts to take a Giratina promo.
Maybe he has a Professor Sycamore in his hand. He's just wanting to thin this card out of his deck. He knows it's not going to be useful for him later on in the game. There's no Pokemon break on Will's side of the field, so just wants to discard this card, and we'll see if that's what he opts to do.
Benches that Seismitoad, Burbank, and he does play Sycamore, so gets rid of that Giratina. Will be useful here. Gets a double and a Fury Belt.
Very
no laser,
good.
I don't think, but this is still strong. Trainer locking as soon as he can. Slows Will down a lot.
Yeah, definitely what Carson wanted to find there off of that 7 cards. The perfect 7 would have included a Hypnotoxic Laser, I think, like you mentioned, but I think
he does have a Shaman.
Ooh.
Might be able to get it off these 3 cards. Doesn't get it.
As an Ultra Ball, could go digging even more if he wanted to with another Shaman. Does have Ultra Ball and another Seismitoad, could bench the Pokemon, but no, just going to go ahead, use Quaking Punch, deals 40 damage.
You know, I like that play. You know, it would have been nice to hit a laser, but, you know, you didn't need to burn resources just to hit a laser immediately. You know, Will doesn't have too much aggression going on right now, so this is fine.
Yeah. And if Will is able to get off a Cell Storm, though, here, he will be able to heal basically all that damage, go down to just 10 damage on his Zygarde EX. So, laser certainly would have been nice, but it's not the end of the world that Carson didn't hit it. And, of course, later on in the game, he can always just use Acerola, pick up the damage that this is going to be done to this Toad, and still get lasers in play, maybe even get a Rock Guard on his Seismitoad.
I like this play a lot here, replacing the Verbank, probably finding a Rockruff, just to make sure he can get that going later. And then the double fighting is obviously huge. Carson will need to find that Flare Grunt to stop Will's energy buildup on this Zygarde.
Yep, going to heal 30 damage with Cell Storm. Top deck of VS Seeker from Carson, going to leave him options as far as supporters go in his discard pile. We know he has the Sycamore down there already that he played last turn. See what he wants to go for. He wants to probably try to find one of those lasers like we mentioned in this one.
I think if I'm Carson, the biggest thing here, finding a Verbank, finding a laser. You know, even if the Seismitoad does go down, you want to start establishing that lock with the laser. So getting those cards is going to be essential here. He does have Ultra Ball. See what he grabs here with this.
Yeah, something actually worth noting that we haven't mentioned up to this point. Carson actually plays a copy of Mewtwo EX, which could come into play against the Psychic Weak Buzzwole, especially with Hypnotoxic Laser, can definitely build up damage and maybe try to set up some plays where Buzzwole gets knocked out coming back into Carson's turn after a big Energy Drive, or not Energy Drive, sorry, X-Ball.
Yes, he does run Lele, so Energy Drive exists there as well. Mewtwo, of course, the OG X-Ball type attack. Carson's Sycamore's here, looks like. I don't think I see a laser there either.
There it is. I think it was there at the front of his hand.
My bad.
So he will be able to use that if he wants to. Looks like he will opt to do that. Gonna just kind of take away that healing from Cell Storm. It does flip tails, but you know, I think he's happy just getting the damage in play more than anything.
Yeah, definitely. So he's gonna opt to Quaking Punch again. He's playing another laser. He really wants this Zygarde to sleep, and I think that's a Tails again.
Tails.
So, will be able to attack with anything he wants this next turn here on this Zygarde. He has a Beast Energy in his hand. I don't think he wants to play that Beast Energy right now.
Yeah, it's definitely in danger of getting hammered away. Gonna just see an N. You know, actually, it's funny. Beast Energy works best, of course, on Ultra Beast Pokemon, but it can be attached to non-Ultra Beast Pokemon. It does just provide a colorless energy, but Zygarde's third attack actually requires 2 fighting and 1 colorless, so that could be an option for Will if he needs it later on. He can put that on there to deal 100 damage. Would have been enough to knock out this Seismitoad that has 80 on it, but there is a Fighting Fury Belt on Carson's side.
Yeah. Now, Will is probably looking for a strong energy if he can find one. He gets a basic fighting, not the worst. I don't believe that second attack will knock out the Seismitoad.
No.
So he just opts to attach the Buzzwole. I like this play. He's conserving his energy. You know, he realizes his Zygarde will probably live for another turn.
And this is where Carson is going to want to find that Acerola, pick up this damage. There's a VS Seeker. If he has one in his discard pile, he will be able to access it. I think Carson doing a little bit of math here, just trying to figure out what does he need to do to pull off the KO.
Yeah, that's something we used to see a lot, players tapping the table back and forth to calculate poison damage in their head.
Yep.
It's going to VS Seeker.
Is there an Acerola down there? Looks
There
like it.
is, yep.
And we did actually, I did get a peek at his hand. He does have the Rock Guard in his hand, so that could be something he chooses to play to kind of combat this
He does.
Cell Storm. It looks like he will go for that. Will take 60 damage if he swings into the Rock Guard, and it's just not looking good for Will.
One thing that I didn't even realize here, we don't have a lot of time left in this game.
No.
Carson has really done a great job of slowing this game down to just a total grinding halt. Will needs to start taking surprises here very soon.
Yeah, Seismitoad just a naturally slower deck, a lot about controlling what your opponent has on their side of the field, plays a lot of slower games through those Acerolas, and if they're not taking one-hit knockouts, it's definitely pretty solid. So it looks like that damage was placed. Over to Will's turn.
So now Will is thinking, you know, do I want to attack and just let my Zygarde get knocked out from Rock Guard damage and poison? Do I want to maybe retreat and use Jet Punch? You know, I'm not really sure if putting in a big attack with the Zygarde is worth it. I think maybe you just attach to the bench and just let the Zygarde die.
Yeah, it definitely feels bad, but it's kind of what you have to do at some point. Does it go ahead and attach a strong energy, plays a Professor Sycamore, going to draw 7 cards, and something Will actually could have access to this next turn. Honestly, I wouldn't be that surprised if we just saw Will pass here, not let his Zygarde go down to the poison, make Carson take the knockout so he doesn't let it knock out, but no, actually going to go ahead and just go ahead and get the damage in play, and Carson will take 2 prizes from that.
So Will puts up this baby Buzzwole. You know, Carson is down at least 2 lasers, I think, because he played him in that same turn.
Yep.
So Will's probably thinking, you know, maybe he doesn't have a 3rd laser here. Maybe I can keep that Buzz alive, but he puts up Rock Ruff.
And he actually just took a laser out of the prize cards he got for knocking out that Zygarde, actually. So it has the Enhanced Hammer as well. You know, honestly, I think Will could have potentially just let that Zygarde die going back into his turn and then promoted the Buzzwole GX, gone for an Absorption GX into a Knuckle Impact on the following turn to try to take 4 prizes with this one Pokemon.
Yeah. Instead, he really upsets kind of his clock. Carson is in kind of total control of this game right now, hating these energies, and Will really doesn't want to attack this Seismitoad.
Yeah, and something Will could do on his next turn, assuming Carson doesn't take a prize card here, if he has an Energy and a Guzma, could actually bring up that Shaman and use Sledgehammer to pick up the KO thanks to Diance's Princess's Cheer. Gonna do enough damage, even if he just has a basic energy on that baby Buzzwole.
Yeah, he's gonna need to start knocking some Pokemon out here, and Carson is not giving him the opportunity to take out these Seismitoads.
So we're gonna see Hoopa's Scoundrel Ring. He's gonna search his deck for a Pokemon EX, maybe put it in his hand up to 3, maybe just going to thin his hand out, maybe he's going to go for a Sycamore or something this turn, just wants to get some cards out of his deck that he doesn't want to draw anymore.
Yeah, he's eyeing that Shaman. You know, probably doesn't look like he's got a lot of cards he can play. Keldeo as well, another option for him, kind of move the Seismitoads around because that one has that Rock Guard on it.
Mm-hmm. Maybe wanting to save the Rock Guard for, you know, later on in the game, also conserving the Buzzwole that has all this damage on it. So I like getting the Keldeo here. If he has the Floatstone, he gets a lot of mobility, and can attack with a different Seismitoad.
Also, he does have that parallel, so if he parallels himself, he can get rid of that Hoopa and that Shaman, which are kind of dead cards. And then, Will doesn't really have anything he can kind of chump on.
Looks like we do see that double colorless. We're going to see a Hypnotoxic Laser. Does flip tails. Not going to be relevant if he's attacking with the Fighting Fury Belt, since it will actually knock out the 70 HP Rockruff. Looks like he has a Colress in his hand. Will need to find Floatstone off of this if he wants to get that Russian and retreat combo.
And if I'm Carson, I want this Floatstone more than anything, because if he knocks out this Rockruff, then Baby Buzzwole is no longer useful at all. So he wants to eliminate that as a threat, and also just take out the obvious utility of Lycanroc GX.
So we'll see if he is able to find that Floatstone. Going to be important here. Doesn't play any copies of Field Blower, I don't believe, so he couldn't, Field Blower plus get a Fighting Fury Belt to get rid of his own Rock Guard to take this knockout. Ooh, I think I do see that Floatstone maybe. Oh, and he does play one copy of Field Blower, as Michael just pointed to on the deck list for me.
Yeah, the Floatstone is really crucial here. That's a huge swing for him. He's already kind of in control of this game, but I think taking out this Rockruff, eliminating Baby Buzzwole as a threat, really puts him very far ahead.
It actually may not be the Floatstone. It looks like it might actually be that Field Blower over on the left side of his hand, but he doesn't have the Fighting Fury Belt. It would have been costly to get rid of the Rock Guard, but I think he would have done it just to get the KO here to play around that Baby Buzzwole. And yeah, it does just have to go for the Quaking Punch. This is a potential opening for Will in this game.
Yeah, if he has a Guzma in his hand, which I don't think I see, but if he has a way to get this Rockruff out of the active spot here, which he has some energy, he can start attacking with Jet Punch at least, put some more pressure on. But things are not looking too good for Will here.
Yeah, definitely not in a great position. Looks like we're going to see one energy attached there and a Colress. Going to draw himself 8 cards, which is not too bad. And he is setting up for a potential 4-prize swing with that Buzzwole. Absorption into Knuckle Impact would almost guarantee 2 prizes if he can find strong energies and beast energies later on maybe, but Absorption will at least get the 2.
And if I'm Will here, I think I want to let this Rockruff just get knocked out with poison. Don't need to waste a Lycanroc to preserve it. Then you can push up the Baby Buzzwole, which is just another huge non-EX, but he opts to use it. Interesting. Pulling up the Hoopa, maybe trying to buy some time.
Yeah, he does heal the poison damage, which is nice. He maybe keeps himself at the 4 prizes, or keeps Carson at 4 prizes so that Baby Buzzwole could maybe become a factor. Carson does have double colorless energy in his hand. Hoopa does have a retreat cost of 2, so he, worst case scenario, can move it with that. I think he would like to find the Floatstone to put on Keldeo, though, if he can. But definitely, above all else, wants to keep the Quaking Punch lock up.
Now looks like Carson's maybe doing some math with Laser. Probably has the last Laser in the deck. He's doing this sort of math.
Yeah, looks like he might have one in his hand, or have that Shadow Triad, which can get it back. That might be what his supporter for the turn is. And he can bring up this Lycanroc with the Fighting Fury Belt, which is a little safer from getting knocked out.
So he attaches to Keldeo, actually. Same thing as attaching to Hoopa. This way is a little more stylish.
Yeah, and if he was to go for a Colress or something like that, I think it would technically be correct to attach to the Keldeo, because you never know what you draw. You could want to put the Floatstone somewhere else or something like that if you drew it off of a supporter. But we're actually just going to see him use the Laser, use Shadow Triad, immediately get the Laser back, and probably retreat this Keldeo into a Seismitoad. Quaking Punch for 40 damage. Actually going to send up the Rock Guard Seismitoad. And this is going to deal 70 damage once again after that poison.
And actually putting this Rock Guard Seismitoad is an interesting play. Because that way Will can't use Guzma to switch the Lycanroc and still knock out this damaged Seismitoad. And that way he preserves the Rock Guard for possible retaliation.
Absolutely. So we'll see if he has a Guzma. Don't see one yet. Does have a lot of basic energy, so he can maybe get ready to attack with that Baby Buzzwole. Maybe Will's looking back and saying, man, maybe I should have attached to this Rockruff a little earlier. Maybe could have gotten some value out of Dangerous Rogue GX, but did not, unfortunately, go for that. Looks like he's just going to go ahead and attach to the Buzzwole.
Just attach and pass, and that is not what Will wants to do. He's probably waiting a turn so he can at least attach 2 of the energy in his hand before he Sycamores, but he really needs to find a Guzma here.
Special charge, going to put that double colorless energy back into the deck for Carson so that he has access to it later on.
And honestly, Will is still not out of this game. There is that big 4-prize swing, and maybe if he can pull that off, he can find a way to steal those last 2 prizes. But Carson is doing a great job of just milking the clock. There's less than 5 minutes left, and Will still has not taken a single prize yet. So Carson playing is very smart.
Yeah. So we'll see. He's got the field blower in his hand. Could use that maybe, but nothing really on Will's side he wants to get rid of. I guess he doesn't want to get rid of his own Verbank, but that's what he's got at the front right now. Yeah, looks like it's just going to be a Quaking Punch after the poison damage will be enough to take the knockout. Carson goes down to just 2 prizes left.
Now Will can initiate that big 4-prize swing. That's what he's been waiting for. Unfortunately, the way the attack works out, he would have to knuckle impact this if he doesn't want to, or if he wants to be able to kill a Seismitoad later.
Yeah, well, Absorption would actually lose its base damage because it's based off of how many prizes you have remaining. So he only gets the full value out of it when he has 6 prizes to knock out a Fighting Fury belted Seismitoad. And looks like that might not be an option. So maybe we'll see him actually go for like a Knuckle Impact and maybe try to get a Rockruff down this turn. He did already attach for turn, though, so that might not be the strategy he's going for.
Yeah. For some reason, I was thinking that both of them had Fury Belt. Mistake on my part.
All good. No worries. We'll see what this 6 cards yields for Will. Carson only going to draw 2, but he's got everything on the board he needs basically at this point. And if he can just draw into things like VS Seeker to use Acerola, he'll be good to go for the rest of the game.
Yeah, Will finds a Brooklet Hill to get rid of that Verbank, but it's a couple turns too late. There was a ton of poison damage that really put Will pretty far behind. So I don't really know even what he's going to take. Another Buzzwole. I guess maybe just thin the deck.
Yeah, at this point, that's about all he can do. And this is just kind of a slaughter, honestly, on Carson's side. He's been in total control in this game, too. And it's really kind of cool to see a unique deck like this doing so well at the regional championships here in Roanoke. And hopefully we'll see some more from Carson later on in the tournament.
And Will does GX, taking out that Seismitoad. He will take the 60 damage in retaliation from the Rock Guard. But that's 1 Toad down. And Carson only has, looks like 3 cards in his hand from an N. So he'll use Brooklet as well. Probably pull out a Toad if he has one, or just search.
I'm not sure that he actually even has another one in the deck. We've seen one get knocked out, maybe one hit the discard pile already. Looks like there is actually one in there, so maybe he's wanting to like potentially play around. Well, no, at this point he doesn't need to worry about Dangerous Rogue since Will has already used a GX attack. So I would imagine he'll probably search the Toad out here, but we'll see if that's what he goes for.
Now, if he hasn't used the second Shaman, maybe he's preserving the bench spot for that Shaman for a big push at the end.
Yeah, there's always the potential Will could bust out the Pseudo-Wudo, which would limit his bench. So
yeah, and he does have Brooklet, so he could get it on this next turn if he hasn't discarded it or anything.
Yeah. So we'll see on Carson's turn here. What's his supporter of choice? Looks like it's just going to be Colress. He does have that last laser in the deck, so could go for a laser here if he hits this. Of course, we know he also plays Lucamine, which means later on he can get back Shadow Triad, get back Verbank City Gym, and keep this trend going of laser plus Verbank City Gym to build up damage.
Yeah, there's less than a minute left here, so, if Carson doesn't get the laser, Will need to still find the last 4 prizes under this trainer lock. Maybe if he gets a Beast Energy or something, he can knock it out. But Carson doesn't get Hypnotoxic Laser, so
I think I do see it right there in his hand.
Yeah,
he does find that 4th laser. Could be a big sleep flip potentially coming up for Carson, and then in turn for Will potentially.
Yeah.
Also has Parallel City, maybe debating playing that, gets rid of the Brooklet Hill, and can maybe get rid of this Shaman on Carson's bench.
Yeah, it'll force Will to kind of have a Guzma and another energy. Or actually, he can just Guzma and retreat that other Buzzwole. So, I'm not really sure.
Maybe he's just counting here, like how many energies has Will played? What does he have access to? How many special energies are in his discard pile? And honestly, at this point in the tournament, you need to be considering things like, I could play this guy again on day 2. Maybe I want to know what kind of cards he has in his deck if we play again so that I know how to approach the matchup once again.
Yeah, and we are in time now, I believe. So Carson is going to be turn 0, which means that Will need to take a knockout on an EX both of his next turns. And if this laser flip goes Carson's way, I think this game might be over here. We'll see. Big flip.
Ooh, looks like
It's
it's
a
tails.
So Will still has a little bit of life. Carson obviously really would have liked to see a heads there.
I still think he's relatively safe at this point, though. He does have an Ace of Rolla in his hand, which can be good on the next turn. But Will, if he can find the Beast Energy Prism Star, would be able to take a knockout with the Knuckle Impact, I think. Should be enough damage there. No, actually would be just short. It would do 210 damage. Just short. I just kind of assumed it would be enough damage.
Yeah.
Not quite enough to get there, though. Maybe Carson's just kind of working out this math, just figuring out what he wants to do to make sure that he secures this game.
He's going to retreat. He's going to Quaking Punch. Will now, he can't knock out this Seismitoad, but maybe he's got a Guzma and an Energy to knock out something on the bench. We'll see what happens. Quaking Punch does a total of 50 damage on that Buzzwole. He's got an Energy here.
Something that could come in to play for Carson. We know he plays Mewtwo EX. Maybe that's what he was looking for in this last turn. Maybe not able to find it. Could have taken those last 2 prize cards.
So Will is looking here. I don't think he has the Guzma because I think he would have played it if he did. And I think maybe he's starting to realize that he doesn't have a way to knock out this Seismitoad.
Yeah, not looking pretty for Will Jenkins. There is the strong energy he can put on the bench. Can retreat this active to keep from just losing on the next turn. So that might be what he goes for.
But he can't afford to not lose. He has to try and win here because we're in turn 3 of time. So if he doesn't take a prize right now, he's not going to win this game.
So needs to try to take a prize, but I just don't know that he has a way to do it, especially with his supporter for the turn being Karina. That kind of tells me, hey, I don't have it. Looks like he's going to bring up the Buzzwole GX. Use Knuckle Impact. It'll deal 200 damage, actually. Going to be just short of knocking out this Seismitoad, though.
All right, so let's do some math here. Is it possible that he just uses Jet Punch in general? That's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know that there's really anything Will could have done at this point in the game. Enhanced Hammer is just the icing on the cake for Carson. A Guzma plus a Mewtwo EX would just win him the game here. Being able to, and a DCE would be able to just knock out that Buzzwole on the bench. Does only have the 2 prizes left. And this should be turns. Carson should be turn 2, I believe. So looks like it's just going to be a Team Skull Grunt. Discards a basic fighting energy. Just to add a little insult to injury, honestly.
If I'm Carson, I'm thinking maybe, he just opts to Quaking Punch. I was thinking maybe you could attach the Fury Belt to Shaman just to guarantee. Carson concedes. There's no way he can win this one in a turn. Unfortunate.
Yep, so looks like Carson is going to come away our victor. Looks like his last 2 prizes were Burbank City Gym and Mewtwo EX, both cards that he would have loved to have had there at the end of that game. But Carson moving to 6-0-1, I believe. Definitely in a good spot. Should be wrapping up day 2 almost at this point.
Yeah.
So, 7-0-1, I guess, at this point will be